I choose to be happy. It's okay to be loved, and I will be okay. Third part, and I will be okay. Being okay doesn't mean everything's okay. Being okay doesn't mean you fool yourself into believing something that's not true. Being okay is the recognition that everything in life is a choice. And whether you want to get all thinking about like supernatural movies where the force was always with you, or any of this stuff, which I'm not a big fan of sci-fi, but I get it. I get the intent, I get the lesson in it. But it's really about an active decision to be okay. To look at yourself, and I don't care if you're 12 watching this, you're 22, 52, 102. At the end of the day, you woke up, breath in your lungs, and your heart's beating. And as a pro wrestler once said, any man with two hands has a fighting chance. But I think you don't even need two hands. I think you just need somewhat, at least, of a sound mind. And I think if you were born and you're still alive today, that there's something inside you that resembles a fighting spirit. And there's plenty of examples of success and of overcoming obstacles, and people that have walked through a lot of hell in their lives to be okay. Now, being a realist and just trying to maybe save you guys some pain and anguish that happens sometimes when you listen to people that are motivators, that are overcomers, whether you're into the self-help type gurus, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. And if you've already stereotyped or judged them without really listening to their content, and I'm going to plug shamelessly the Gary Vaynerchuks, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, an amazing man who I got to know personally, but I try not to name drop. If I told you, you wouldn't believe me anyways. To the guy that was my professional wrestling trainer, Al Snow, and I watched him going from driving a school bus, and honestly, I don't know if even Al has told these stories publicly. If not, Al, I apologize for exposing the truth, but my trainer, Al Snow, when I met him, was 29, had a mullet, was driving a school bus and washing dishes in his kid's school. His now ex-wife, who's an amazing woman I really respect, her family was very religious and pretty much wanted nothing to do with him because he wasn't, quote-unquote, being a man and supporting his family. But Al was a guy who believed in his dream and stayed the course with professional wrestling. And within the next few years, Al was making probably over $500,000 to $1 million a year as a pro wrestler because he believed in his dream and he stuck it out. And I'm sure I'm getting the numbers wrong because all wrestlers have an out not to remember stuff because of concussions. So I'll qualify it with that. But Al, to the best of my knowledge, was in the wrestling business somewhere between 15 and 17 years before he got his quote-unquote break, his big league break with wrestling. And all of a sudden, he was the cat's meow. Good things were happening for him. And very well deserved, because he was very talented. And if you look at the Al Snow, and I encourage you to either Google him or go on YouTube and watch some of his videos, look at the early to mid 90s Al versus the current day Al. The current day Al is a jacked, SOB, an old son of a bitch. And I say that with all due respect because he was like a father figure to me. And it's all I can say is I was blessed to know this man when he really didn't have a pot to piss in, and he was running this little wrestling school in Lima, Ohio, looking to, build up and support young wrestling talent whose dream was to be a pro wrestler at the top level. And a lot of you that watch this aren't professional wrestling fans or wrestlers, but those of you who are and have seen good and bad through that industry can appreciate that Al was a guy that was just trying to help young talent to achieve their dreams, and was very gracious, very kind. And when I saw the love that he had for his son Jacob, I knew that at some point in my life I wanted to be a father, because this man had become my role model. And I saw how no matter what life threw at him, he was convinced, at least what I saw of him publicly or what he shared, because let's be honest, you never really know anybody. Sometimes you don't even know yourself, if you're being honest. But Al always showed confidence through adversity and through damn near, if not legit, poverty, and went on to become one of the most beloved guys in the wrestling business, not only from the guys in the locker room, but to the fans and to the guys that were men and women that were lucky enough to train under him. And one of the things that I'll never forget that happened almost 17 years after I was done with the wrestling business, and I had the opportunity to get myself back in shape and return to the sport, which I'm honored that I had the opportunity to do, and that my body was healthy enough to do, was